Hello and welcome to my project, Better Teaching Through Understanding. So to begin, I would like to evaluate my own cultural competency. I took a lot of the surveys and got my information from the Teaching Tolerance website, which I think does a good job of helping teachers understand their biases that exist. So strengths for me are I am empathetic, that I really try to get to know my students and I understand the struggles that they have, and that allows and informs my teaching. I am motivated to learn, meaning that I want to best support and learn the strategies that will best support my students in the classroom. Because Addison Trail has such a diverse learning community, I am pretty comfortable teaching diverse students, as I've had most of my classes are of diverse learners. So that's something that I take pride in and I find is a strength of mine. I also like to, a strength of mine is getting students involved in the curriculum to help them find more of themselves in the curriculum. This is a lot easier in the music world because students can help me make decisions on music and composers and things like that. So students have been a huge help in me better representing the other students in my curriculum. Some weaknesses that I observed when taking the Teaching Tolerance survey was attributing the achievement gap to poverty or race. You know, sometimes my students that are not playing at the level of other students, I will sometimes be quick to judgment based on their poverty level, or maybe that their specific race does not value maybe classical music. So a bias of mine that I'm working on overcoming. Adapting my curriculum to the distinctive cultures of my students is another weakness of mine. While I feel do a good job of representing the Latino population, I know I could do a better job representing other diverse learners in my school. I feel like sometimes they feel like they're not as represented with the music that we study and play. Another weakness of mine is providing the same level of challenging musical material to all students and providing curriculum that matches students' learning styles. Again, working on knowing my students better and getting my biases out of the way so I can best fit my teaching to their needs. So common sources of bias, prejudice, and discrimination. In the community, you see this a lot on social media. There are, unfortunately, some racist posts that have been happening on Facebook and Instagram, those kind of things that diverse people in the community have to deal with. The housing discrepancy in Addison is pretty wide. You have the more expensive homes very much segregated from the low-income housing. And again, everyday personal experience of diverse people in Addison having to deal with instances of bias and racism. In the school district, our curriculum is more biased towards white learners. I feel diverse learners do not have as much representation in the curriculum, and I feel like that causes them to struggle with the curriculum. The school district places a lot of emphasis on academic achievement, which can cause some diverse learners to kind of fall by the wayside in the pursuit of high test scores. In the school community, we do have personal experiences. Students have shared with me their experiences of prejudice from other students. Not so much other teachers, but definitely some of the other students in the school. I do hear conversations as I'm walking the hallways, some prejudice and some racism that does happen, unfortunately. Again, test scores are a focus at our school. So again, some of the diverse learners falling behind with teachers' pursuit of high test scores. And then, of course, you see some bias with teachers' perceptions of students based solely on their race and their income level, which can cause some issues in the classroom. In my classroom specifically, just my personal experience of being a white male and my own biases that come with that can cause some issues with my students. Musical achievement, I do have some biases exist there. So working through that to not let my biases on the student's ability level cloud their ability to have success in my class. And then structuring assessments and curriculum to better fit my students' needs and allow them to better connect with the curriculum and understand how it fits with my pedagogy more broadly. So the group of diverse learners that are victims of prejudice, bias, and discrimination in my school are the English language learners. This group makes up 13.8% of the school population, but nearly 50% of the student population has been a former ELL student. So let's examine the evidence and see what the ELL experience looks like in Addison. Welcome to Addison. Addison is a very diverse community, and I would love to show you it. District 88 serves not only Addison, but Lombard and parts of Oak Brook as well. Because of this, we have a large and diverse student population. ESL students are supported in the community through things like you see here, like churches in their native language. However, because Addison is a large community, it is also very much diverse. There is a large income gap that exists in Addison. This can be seen here in one of the most affluent neighborhoods, where most of these neighborhoods are expensive homes. New developments that are being built in Addison also cater more to these clientele of more affluent people. Many of the ESL students that are served at Addison Trail are students of low income. These students are typically in multifamily households that are with multi-families living in them and are typically housed in apartments such as these. ESL students can find businesses that are similar to their language and their needs. Not only Spanish speakers, but Polish speakers are represented in some of the stores that you see here. However, while there are stores and restaurants that support Spanish speakers and Polish speakers, there is not too much variety in this regard. Most of the restaurants and the stores that you see are dominated by the English language. So ESL students are adapting to the American culture, even in Addison with a high Latino population. This is another neighborhood where you can see some of the lower income housing that is provided in Addison. This is again the neighborhoods that are typical for our ESL students. The Henry Hyde Community Center, which you see here, provides supports for both students and parents in the Addison community. The library is another great resource that gives outreach for, again, both students and Spanish speakers in the community. And here we have arrived at Addison Trail. This school has about a little less than 2,000 students, with about 450 students that are in the ESL program. Here we see the main classrooms for the ESL students. You will notice that a lot of these classes are segregated in their own wing of the school, causing some issues with blending with the general education population. These students receive most of their ESL instruction here. All right, let's review some of the sources of evidence. So first we have the Henry Hyde Research Center, which provides after-school programs, family nights, safety programs, and adult ESL and literacy classes. The library offers assistance with immigration forms and offers English classes both in person and online. Members of the Addison community can also go to the library for free meals. In the Addison community at large, there are many Latino-owned businesses and restaurants. A high percentage of Latino families live in Addison, so there is a accepting community of students and other people of the community that are from Latino background. So in talking with some of the professionals at Addison Trail, I had some really informational and eye-opening responses from them. From the director of bioliteracy, she a quote that stood out to me was she was saying that students are living in between two cultures. Many new students from Mexico, Guatemala, and Colombia come into school with interrupted formal education. So some students will come with a very high educational level in the foreign language, and some will come with almost no formal education. She has seen some prejudice from the teachers when they have said, "Do I really need to worry about ESL students?" And she recommends more staff education on ESL and ESL students. In talking to my superintendent, she talks about how there's 15 languages spoken in the ESL program, but at Addison, 95% of those students are Spanish speaking. She wishes for students to see themselves in the curriculum, and she has worked to put together Latino parent groups in both schools in the district. She also has noticed a huge discrepancy in formal education and form education. In talking with the ESL social worker, she talks about how ESL students have high social and emotional needs. When they come to the United States, there is a big culture shock, and that causes some issues in adapting to the school and the school curriculum. Majority of the ESL students come from a place of poverty and family separation. Many of these students are refugees, and many may not be living with their actual birth parents. They might be living with aunts, uncles, or other family members. So in taking action, there's some things we can do in the school to really help our ESL students. So first would be facilitating focused professional development. That is working with the administration to develop strategies and procedures that promote ESL student learning. This also involves gathering resources to support ESL students. And this is also coming up with professional development that help teachers develop strategies with a more focused curriculum that is more applicable to their ESL students. In taking action, more effort needs to be done with collaborating with colleagues. Students or teachers need to work on promoting conversations about ESL students in their PLC groups, and this can come through PLC time on our Monday morning meetings that we have every Monday. Teachers need to work together and share strategies that work with others. Increase PPS support for these students will also be very helpful in getting ESL students to where they should be academically. And this is an implied tier sport, so integrating tier 2 and tier 3 support possibly into the general classroom so that students do not feel ostracized. Recognizing ESL students in the school and community. Like our superintendent said, having parent groups connect with the community and school will be very helpful. Having parents in the community present about their culture to the staff members can really help staff gain more knowledge on the students and parents that they are teaching. And something that we're working on as a fine arts department is school displays. So painting like murals, things like that, and displays that really bring out the students' voice and it shows them that they are represented in the school. So all these strategies are working together to create a whole support system for the ESL community. And by working with teachers and administration and the community, we can provide a school system and a school family that is supportive of ESL students and allows them to achieve high standards. Thank you so much for listening to my project, and I look forward to your feedback.